Jump with Kieran McDonald. So today we're going to get right into it, and we're going to start with one word, and that word is rebuild. So the theme of today's episode is Alabama is going to have to kind of use that word and talk about that, and deal with that, and deal with the steps and kind of progress that comes with that for the first time since, the early 2000s, 2007, when Nick Saban was first hired there. So to me, this is, there is a generation of Bama fans. I do not remember Bama before Nick Saban. I was not alive when Bama had a coach other than Nick Saban. This is new territory for me. This is new territory for any Bama fan that's, kind of under that 20-ish age, right? And you're wondering, what changes? What's the difference, right? There's going to be, to me, there's a substantial chance that Bama does not, you're not just going to continue on this dynasty, right? It's not just going to be seamless. Off season is going to be chaotic, but back in season, we're going to win, right? And there is what I would say is a somewhat, it's an opinion that's not, I don't think it's fully fledged, that Bama will be, not as good as they were, but they will still be competitive. Now, in my top 25 from this most recent podcast that we did, I had Bama ranked at 25th. I was debating whether to put, a Bama or a Washington or something like that at that 25th slot. But to me, Bama deserves it because I think Bama will still be a good team. They've got Austin Mack transferring in. I think they're going to be a quality team. But, especially in the SEC, rebuilding is tough. And when you lose a coach, it's like, throwing hunks of beef to the hounds, right? They're just going to take it. They're going to slowly pull apart that roster. And even teams outside of the SEC, like Ohio State and Iowa, have taken Caden Proctor and Caleb Downs, probably the two most important players to leave Alabama so far, other than Isaiah Bond, who's gone to an in-conference rival. And what's happening is Calen DeBoer has been plucked from the Northwest and thrown into, the kind of Mississippi-esque river that is the flow of the SEC, and it's brutal, right? He's just barely keeping his head above water, trying to paddle and swim as hard as he can. He's barely keeping his head above water. Not because he's a bad coach, but because that's a new experience for anyone that's entering the SEC. So, it is not a long-term indicator of success, but in this immediacy, in the immediate season, he'll get more guys in spring through the spring portal session. That is almost a guaranteed. But in the immediacy, you were looking at realistically an 8-4, 9-3 season. Maybe you will make the playoff, maybe you won't. There's a chance you go 7-5. Bama will lose games this year. Bama will lose a substantial number of games to teams that you thought were not worthy of beating Bama. I think, there's a lot of games that Bama is going to have issues with this year. Like I said, they do have Austin Mack coming in, but they've lost a lot of talent. They've lost a lot of the high-star, high-flying names. Jalen Milroe is still around, some of their offensive line. You've got running backs still around. You've got some of their defense, but they've lost a linebacker. They've lost safety. They've lost a lot of different individual personnel, and it's all just little bites out of the apple to in-conference rivals and out-of-conference potential rivals. So I don't think Bama will be a top 10 team this season. I don't think they are a top 10 team. I believe Calen DeBoer will get there. I'm not going to cast aspersions on his recruiting prowess or his chances of success in the SEC, but it's a long-term game. And you will see Bama have a 4-loss season probably for the first time in, 10 or 15 years because they've always been a 10-win team, right? So now that they may not meet that, what does that look like, right? It's still a good brand. There's still a good culture left. It's not like, you took the tower that Saban had built and it's all the way leveled to the foundation, right? It's not. The foundation is still there, but the top got taken off, right? And those pieces that change and shift and the facade has been removed and it's being changed, right? And it's in that process, and it's going to take more than a season. For those of us that are used to having program rebuilds, right? You go 5-7, then 7-5, then 9-3, then 10-1, right? And then you're a good program. And that journey takes years. it will be on an accelerated pace at Bama because of the resources that will be afforded to Calen DeBoer, and also because of the staff that he's put together with Ryan Grubb and his other, coordinators and coaches that he's brought from Washington that were already there at Alabama, that he's taken from other SEC programs. It will be a high-quality program. It will be a high-flying program. But I still believe it's going to take them a year. I believe next year Bama is as good a contender as any. Not, in the immediacy, but in 2025, Bama is as good a contender as any. But I believe in this first season of the 12-team playoff, I don't think Bama will make it. And I don't think that Bama has a realistic shot to make it. And I just think that there's too much going on too fast. And to me, there is still in the very early stages of getting their head above water. But talking, a little more pure football, right? Alabama will always be revered as a brand because of what Nick Saban did. Do not, get any... Bama will be back. There is a name. It is a name. It is a brand. It has been built. It will continue to be there. And obviously they're going to have chances to upset teams. They're going to have chances to take teams that they wouldn't have otherwise beaten, or they wouldn't have, they're not guaranteed to beat. They're going to be a decent program. It's not, do not worry about the long-term future of Alabama, but worry that, anyone who's saying that it's, a big deal and a big change that they're just going to roll right over is not, I don't believe they're correct. I think that this coming season, it'll show them. We'll know something at the end of the season, but I don't think we'll know a lot. We'll know more after spring. But right now, the most important thing for Calen DeBoer is getting his staff together, getting everything. And the word rebuild has to be used to describe what this is. It's not, a plug and play. Everybody hasn't agreed to stay. There may still be more people transferring out. So if you see that, don't be surprised. Don't be scared. But also, don't be surprised. Be expecting, be understanding, and understanding that's going to give that staff time. He is not going to get all the time he deserves just because by virtue of being at Alabama. I don't think he will need all of that time. But in the immediacy, Bama will not compete for national championships. That is a change. I believe they're in that, 20 to 25 team range, and they will be once they put together a roster. And I think in the long term, Bama will be a great team. But I think right now, they're not going to be very great. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. And to me, the genesis of this is that Calen DeBoer has probably put together one of the best coaching staffs, just coaching from top to bottom, from, his offensive staff and his strength and conditioning staff and all of that. He's going to have one of the best staffs, not, in college football. And to me, that's going to make a big difference long term, but it is not... A portal wound is temporary, right? That will close with the closing of the transfer portal. They'll figure out what to do. They will miss those guys, but those guys have done what they believe is best for them. And Calen DeBoer must do what's best for the program and recruiting and building his staff, which I think he's more concerned with than the locker room right now. He's more concerned with the front office than the locker room, and I think he should be. I think he has every right to be. But once he gets those coordinators and those teams put together, to me, that's going to be the genesis of what is going to be great and what I think may be another dynasty. But the other question this raises is who becomes the lead of college football, right? The obvious candidate is Kirby Smart. Sark is in there. Which program takes over for Alabama in this time and even tries to take that real estate? Because what's happened is there's been a huge vacuum created, right? Bama is just like that, gone. Not gone, but they're, on the fringe looking in instead of being the center, right? Instead of having a safe bet, Bama's going to compete for a championship. That used to be a safe bet, and now it's almost a bet that you're not going to make, right? So, to me, the complexity, the different angles and aspects of this, I think Calen DeBoer's done a really good job. I think he was a bang-on hire. I think he was one of the first people they asked. Everybody got, something out of that Bama coaching search. It was frantic, it was unexpected, but I think now we're settling in. I think Calen DeBoer is settling in Tuscaloosa, and I think that he will be a top-tier head coach in college football for a long, long time after this little rebuild period is behind him. And by assembling that staff, he's created one of the most potent and, one of the teams with the most potential in all of college football. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to the channel. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll be posting basically right here in this playlist, in this little series, every Monday. Great to make this episode. I'm so happy, proud of the work that I've done and working to grow this channel, and me and Kieran both are, and we're very grateful and to all of our listeners and supporters, and we hope that you continue to support our channel. Thank you and bye.